You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 94. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff the Mighty.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by Rhymes with Geek. You can check out our show, plus plenty of other cool podcasts like Super Podcasto Magnifico and the all-new Anti-Fanboy, plus plenty of cool articles about comics and video games and crap like that at rhymeswithgeek.com. So the first comic we've got to talk about today is probably the most obscure thing we have talked about. We've talked about on the show, and maybe ever that we will. And what I'm talking about is Fantastic Adventures number 12 from Super Comics. It's actually only the third issue of this series, for one. But Jeff, just looking at this material, when would you say that this was published?
It looks like late 30s,
Yeah.
early 40s.
And I think you're absolutely right. But believe it or not, this is a Silver Age comic. This was published in 1963.
I am gobsmacked.
Yes. Well, let me tell you the story, give you a little historical context. Super Comics was existed in the comic biz from 1958 to 1964. Okay, and they did no original material. What they did do was they got a hold of material, either used or inventory stuff, from comic book companies that had ceased publication. Companies like Toby, Standard, Avon, smaller companies that had kind of like died, either in the Golden Age, just because of the decline after the war, or because of the inception of the Comics Code. Companies that were crowded out or just kind of fell to the wayside. And Super Comics, it's weird to see that this line even did well enough to last about 6-8 years in the biz, because this material is pretty low quality. And this is something coming out in 1963. The same, DC. Let's contextually, let's put it in context, okay? Contextually in context. I'm not on my game today, but let's put it in perspective. DC has had popular revivals or reimaginings of the Flash and the Green Lantern and the Atom. Weisinger era Superman is riding high, and the Justice League of America is a big hit. Okay, DC's got that going at this time. And the Marvel Comics explosion is happening. It's 1963. You've already got the Avengers and Spider-Man and the Hulk and Doctor Strange and the X-Men and Daredevil. All of these things are going on, and then you get this. It's leftover, not very interesting stuff from the 40s.
Oh, don't you think the hip, knowing kid of 1960 would prefer Zor the Mighty to Fantastic Four?
I don't think so. No, but here's the thing. Some of the stuff in this, it's not bad. When I look in the context of when it was originally produced,
right?
I could say it's okay. It's derivative of Tarzan and Prince Valiant and things like that, and that's okay. That stuff's fun. And this isn't too bad. But let's talk about it. The lead feature here is Zor the Mighty. And the story is called The Fall of Emperor Manuf. Art by a fella named E.G. Letkeman, who did most of the art in this issue, if not all. And I don't know anything about that guy either. But Zor the Mighty, he's a Tarzan, he's a Khazar type.
Yeah. Here's a synopsis, and it's kind of complicated, so I'll just read their synopsis. Zor the Mighty and Della Parker have taken up allegiance with Rabak, the renegade leader, to release the world of Kaz from Emperor Manuf's tyrant rule. So we have...
You got Tarzan and Flash Gordon blended.
Yeah.
So is it kind of John Carter-y?
Yeah.
It's not original.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination. So,
the rebels are in blue. The bad guys are in red. They both got their They both got their uniforms from the marching band store. And it's just, I mean, a bunch of fisticuffs, and the action's kind of, everything's stilted and I don't know, just ugly, poorly drawn. Stupid tank looks like a.
Yeah, it's nothing. I mean, especially because you're looking at, again, look at the time. Jack Kirby is doing some of the best superhero comics ever, and with just action and crackling with energy, and then you get this.
Right.
But on its own, it's okay.
Yeah, the Emperor gets a knife in the throat. You see blood. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But there's a fight. Zor the Mighty defeats the Emperor, but his girl dies.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a... So,
And he has a saber-toothed tiger, just like Kazar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, actually, his girlfriend saves him.
Yeah.
That's
What a great hero. He just pawns off his duties on others.
Well, no. now.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But, okay. So now he goes off in the sunset with his tiger to...
Be sad or something.
yeah. All right.
So
now it's Thoric the Fearless.
Yeah, this is cool. It's, again, by E.G. Letkeman. And I know I'm not pronouncing that well, but that's a tough last name.
Actually, I think you're right.
Okay. But anyway, Thoric the Fearless is a Viking. And other than it's a Viking thing, it's very Prince Valiant style, as in the way it's presented. Not the art itself. Hal Foster is leagues ahead of this guy.
Right.
But he can draw better than me, so I shouldn't, be so critical.
Barely. I guess not. Yeah.
For material that definitely looks like it's 1930s.
I just noticed that the Viking ship has an emblem and looks like a puffin bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, the valiant puffin bird. The puffin bird's always a joke,
Well, here's the thing: you see all these ball teams they don't always have like fierce animals as their mascot or whatever their name is.
That's usually a joke, though.
Yeah. I don't know.
Banana slugs.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
San Diego.
Something that it was. Yeah.
And stuff like
I remember reading about that team in Boys Life magazine when I was a kid.
Oh.
Remember Boys Life magazine?
I enjoyed Boys Life. I got it for years.
I did too.
All right, the Vikings are in trouble because they don't know how to fish, and they're on the ocean and they're starving, which is amazing. I think the Vikings would know how to fish, and then they're starving. So they see this land, and it acts like it's India for some reason, but it's really, I guess it's Africa. I don't know why I got the impression it was India.
I didn't get that impression, but
the mighty Indian Ocean. That's where I got it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
Africa is on the mighty Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
Never mind. All right. So they go and they see crocodiles and hippos.
Jeff thought the Indian Ocean was full of Indians.
Yeah.
So it's swimming with them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so anyway.
Okay, so Thoric goes out and explores, and this big ape attacks him.
Yeah.
And that's a
Vikings versus gorilla. Kind of cool.
yeah. Oh man, the gorilla's about to bite his
Throat out.
That's kind of a cool picture then.
Yeah.
And his friend, Thoric's friend, no. A figure dressed in the garb of ancient Egypt steps out from the dark shadows and saves him with a big spear.
Kills the ape with a spear. Again, you see blood.
Yeah, and again they went to the high school marching band uniform store.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple things look Egyptian. Most of them do not.
Yeah, I wonder if Letkeman got his design costume ideas from the annual Christmas pageant.
Yeah. Actually, he got it from
all the old serials. They had
Yeah,
just the
exactly.
futuristic costumes were all really weird like this.
Right.
But it was someone's vision of the future.
Mm-hmm.
you know, or what people would dress like on another planet. So
these Egyptians are existing, and
that's an Edgar Rice Burroughs trope.
Yeah.
The lost city in the middle of the, you know, so
then they're going to get this 8-foot Negro slave.
Yeah.
And that's.
And this is being published in 1963.
Yeah.
Which is so bad. I mean, it's bad, period, but it's really embarrassing to do so at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So it's left on a cliffhanger, which, by the way, probably doesn't get resolved. This is really short-lived. Every title from Super Comics was really short-lived, and a lot of it's, again, inventory stuff, so unused. But so Letkeman, he's a man. He has another quiver in his bow or something, because he does a funny animal kind of comic next, and it's this character Impy. And the story. Do I have the title on the story? Let me look.
I think it's called Impy.
Yeah, just called Impy. Okay. And Impy is a monkey, a pink monkey, who's reading about Zor the Mighty in a comic book entry.
Zor space O. Do you see that?
Do you see that?
Look at it carefully.
But see, that's probably like a circle for the symbol of the publisher.
Maybe so.
Because it's reduced. Again, we don't have the cover here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Again, and this is material from the 40s, so.
Right.
So yeah, Impy.
He's sleeping around. He gets in a dream that he's got. He's reading Zor the Mighty, and he wants adventures.
Mm-hmm.
So he falls asleep, and then he saves this pig who's in trouble.
Yeah.
And everybody's dressed in clothes.
The pig is named Porky, by the way.
I'd be dang. You're right.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
So he's fighting this big, huge
ogre or something.
Yeah. So he fights and fights. Then he
rescues a girl from this guy, but then
he tries to, and then she looks like a human being, kind of.
Right.
But he is dressed. Looks like a monkey.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up and his dad or Uncle Grumpo. I kind of like that name. It sets him to chopping wood.
Yeah, it's crap.
Yeah.
And so is this.
Yeah, Gremlins in the toy shop.
Gremlins in the toy shop. No credits on this. Who would take credit for it? And boy, this is... It looks like somebody is not drawing in their own style in this art, because it looks like somebody is purposely trying to do cartoony and humorous look, and it looks forced in this art that I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
If we can just get through this crap, and then we'll get on to something important.
Papa Snigglefritz sells toys to Swenson. Swenson's employee, he wants Swenson's job. So what is his name? I don't know.
We'll just say the bad guy.
The bad guy. And he tears up the toys. And he wants to get Swenson's job. So he tears up Snigglefritz's toys. And then he goes home, and the gremlins are keeping him awake, and he tells them to go bother Snigglefritz. Man, I have a hard time with that name.
It's awkward, yeah.
Yeah. So
he's like a German or a Swede or something, right?
Yeah.
Probably Swiss.
Mm-hmm. No, he's a nice old happy fellow with the kid.
Mm-hmm. It's like his nephew or grandson or something.
Like
yeah, okay.
So he's working, and then the gremlins come in, they tear up all the toys, and this kind of upsets him, because that's how he makes his money.
Right.
He's going to lose a contract with Swenson's. So they mess him up again, and he fixes them all, then he messes them up, tries to fix them all, and messes them up. So the little boy figures out what's going on, and he tells the gremlins, hey, leave him alone, mess up with the mean guy. And let's see. And the mean guy has been fired. Sneaky Sam is his name.
Wow, with a name like Sneaky Sam, I don't know why nobody caught on that there was a problem. But
okay, all right.
Yeah, lousy.
Yeah.
Stinkaroo. Yeah, but yeah, they're just weird little corners of comic book history, though. I like to touch on that stuff when we can here and there. But let's talk about Superman
Okay.
in the Electronic Ghost of Metropolis. And this is Superman number 244. The lead story is written by Denny O'Neil, penciled by Kurt Swan, inked by Murphy Anderson.
Yeah, man. Alright. Okay, Electric Monster attacks GBS, and this is when Clark is a TV reporter.
Yeah.
No, a TV newsman.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's a stupid looking monster, kind of reminiscent of the id monster from Forbidden Planet. Good movie, lousy monster.
Right.
Well, it's a great monster until you actually see him.
Sure.
No, so he's fighting him and gets his butt kicked because he's pure energy and he can't really touch him, but the monster can touch him and he wants to.
Yeah.
So he goes as Clark Kent tries to figure out something. There's a big computer room.
Yeah.
And it's this huge blank of computers, which has less computing power than my watch does, I think.
Probably. But what's interesting is that this Clark can ask this computer questions and get information and stuff.
Right.
Denny O'Neil invented Google.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He should sue.
Back in the 70s. I mean, like, this is before. I mean, the internet existed in the 1960s, but very few people had it. It was pretty much just military folks. It didn't become a public and thing that everybody used until like 1994 or 5 when it started really blowing up and people had home computers and things. So.
So there was purple haze around the building. Where did this come from? Jimi Hendrix, of course. No, radiation from quark energy.
Yeah. Yeah, quarks are a weird thing.
Yeah, I don't have no idea what it is.
It's too. I hate to say it's too sciencey for me, but it is. I don't really get what quarks are.
Most sciences are beyond me. It's so complex. The more you know about it, the more you find out you don't know.
Yeah.
So Clark is on the air talking about the news, and then the quark monster attacks. And then
I'm glad we're calling it that.
And so Clark, I gotta go cover the story. So let someone else do which shows a problem. Maybe discussed this before.
If you're the news,
bad job.
I mean, if he was when he was the newspaper reporter, he could duck out and get away because he's out chasing a story. But if you're on a newscast every night, it becomes suspicious when you have to duck out and disappear and people need to cover for you all the time.
Yeah, especially when millions of people are watching you on TV.
Yeah.
Hey, gotta go. Here's Superman. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No coincidence there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Lois Lane is in trouble again. She's covering the monster. And Superman saves her.
Yeah. Wow. You never see that happen.
Yeah.
And this is, I gotta highlight this. I really enjoy Denny O'Neil, but I don't love everything he does. I mean, like, his Superman and Wonder Woman stuff is not too happening. His Batman and Daredevil stuff is good. And Green Lantern, Green Arrow, that stuff is great. I think. And I don't mean to pick on him because, obviously you have strengths and weaknesses as a writer, and just areas where you're stronger. But it seems that with Denny, the more superpowers, the less, good it is. I mean, it's a bad time for Superman anyway. It's the 70s.
Yeah.
There are good Superman stories from that time, though, and even some that Denny have written. But this is just...
The monster's laughable. I just don't care. So,
yeah.
Actually, this little sub-story here.
I always like subplots. Sometimes they can really help things out.
So this guy named Teach Dilbert, interesting name, is going to claim that he made the monster. He makes a stupid box and sends a ransom letter. So if you don't give me money, I'll send this monster out to kill you. So
he's exploiting the situation.
Yeah,
cleverly.
Yeah, Clark goes. He's got this cool van with a TV camera mounted on a periscope.
Yeah,
just cool.
Yeah, I don't know how practical that is, but it's pretty neat.
The problem is there's a glass dome. The glass dome will get dirt on it, so they're constantly cleaning that. It'll show up. I think that's a good problem.
Yeah.
Oh, and so the mayor's there with Teach Dilbert, and Teach Dilbert's got the stupid mechanical electronic box, and here the mayor's got all those bags of money, which is kind of cool. They actually look like, they just said Citibank, and looks like real money bags. Kind of neat.
Yeah.
Instead of the stereotypical money bag with a dollar sign. And
Right. Those are so like Scrooge McDuck versus the Beagle Boys kind of money bags, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Although that
Those
stuff
are
is
good.
great.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
If I ever come across one, I think we should just talk about some Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are good comics. And they have good stories. It's not just... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so Superman comes. He said, "Hey, that's a fake thing." And,
Box is empty.
And the bad guys start shooting. Superman uses his body as a shield and destroys the guns. And
That's a very George Reeves Superman situation.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah.
I told you the story about the time George Reeves was playing Superman at opening a mall or something.
Ah, yes. Tell the
Yeah.
story. Go ahead.
And this little kid came in with a .22 pistol, and he says, "Hey, I want to see the bullets bounce off here." So George Reeves said, "Yeah, you can do that, but it might be dangerous to other people because the bullets will fly off." So,
Yeah.
what a brilliant thing to
Oh,
do.
yeah. Gotta love that.
Mm-hmm. Good old George Reeves.
Well, and it's weird, though. A kid just walks into a store with a .22 rifle.
People used to carry, back in the 50s and 60s, people were carrying .22 rifles for the target shooting team. They'd be riding a bus with
Sure.
them and coming to school with rifles and stuff like that. It was common.
Yeah.
So, a different world,
Yep.
unfortunately. Oh, okay, so the ghost appears again, the real one, and it attacks a nuclear power plant.
Oh.
So the core is about to blow up. So Superman takes it up in outer space. Cool explosion.
Yeah.
Although the core nuclear power plants will not blow up in an atomic explosion.
Right.
What will happen is that the core will melt, or the production will melt, and radiation will be released. The
Right.
steam might blow radiation out, but it's not going to be an atomic explosion.
Right. But
That-
maybe this explosion takes place because it impacted against something in space. We don't know.
That's true. Very cool panel.
Oh, yeah.
I love the silhouette of Superman. and-
Yeah. It almost looks like Kirby Crackle.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
So, Superman goes to talk to Mr. Edge, Morgan Edge, the world's biggest jerk.
One
I'm
of
gonna
them.
say something else.
Right? I mean, well, there's a couple of jerks at GBS because remember there's Steve Lombard, the prankster, too.
Yeah, man. That's one of the funnest things about it. That time was,
Steve
Yeah.
Lombard, he's fun.
yeah, get
He's a jerk.
But it's a great thing about jerks in literature, they get their own. Not in real life where they become rich and famous.
Right. But, and if you'll recall, the Morgan Edge is an agent of Darkseid. He's working with, it's revealed later that he's working with Intergang and the Legions of Apocalypse to, I don't know, do stuff. But anyway.
Yeah. So.
But that was revealed slowly over time, so. But he's still a jerk. What did he go to talk to Edge about?
He wants to find out where the main computer is at.
Right.
And because that's where he figures out that the computer has had a child, a monster, and because everything is
Yeah.
happening at where GBS has their hands on it. So
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
not a great fight. And he destroys the computer, and the monster dies, and Superman feels sad about it.
Yeah. Well, I got to say about that story, stories about technology, careful because they become really dated really fast.
Yeah, that's the trouble with sci-fi. At least hard sci-fi.
Yeah, science fiction. I mean, a lot of the stuff is things that'll never happen. The interstellar travel, which is sad, but But once you get to like being set on other worlds, and then you can just write all kinds of speculative stuff, and it doesn't become dated.
Mm-hmm.
But some things become like, well, that's not very science fiction-y, and it's 1997 was a long time ago, and this didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. But if I was writing science fiction, I wouldn't really use dates. But
yeah.
Anyway, we have a Silver Age reprint as a backup in here.
Oh, it's it should be on the forefront. This is cool.
This is great. Let me give the credits. This is the Superman of 2965, reprinted from Superman number 181, written by Edmund Hamilton, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by George Klein. So this is classic Weisinger era Superman.
Yep. All right. We see these kids in school studying about Superman, and they're from the future, 2465.
Now, right, and this is the future. This is not about the Superman we know, but I think Superman 5, his descendant.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7, I think.
Oh, okay, the 7th Superman. Sure.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's right, because the previous 6 Supermen have all died, so it's far in the future, and things are different. So,
all right. So they're learning about him, and
and we get to learn about him through them.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love how the costume hasn't changed at all. Only his hairstyle. He wears his hair differently.
Right.
He wears it the way Mon-El does.
Interesting. Yeah, there's really cool monuments to the old Supermen.
So, if this is the year 2465, what century would that be?
25th century.
Oh, it's only a couple hundred years. Oh, okay. So this is still before the Legion. Because they're the 30th century.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's I
can't wait.
You can't wait, right?
Yeah, that'd be great when that time.
Anytime the Legion is around of superheroes, I'm so happy.
You don't have to wait 1,000 years. It's not going to be that long.
Well, it's not like you didn't have to wait in the Phantom Zone 1,000 years like Mon-El.
Yeah. If they had some books there, that'd be okay.
Right?
Yeah. All right, so Superman pledges to the Federation of Planets, and they're going to, let's see, what is it called? There's a deputy, and it's pretty, I don't know. So he begins fighting crime and all this stuff. There's a huge rogue planet going to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, and he moves out of the way with a big magnet.
This whole story is basically him just doing super feats. It's just setting up to do more of these future Superman stories.
Yeah. And some people, he's got his Fortress of Solitude as a satellite.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and these guys try to break into it, and they get scared. So.
Yeah.
So they get caught by Superman,
yeah.
And they're made, this is interesting, and this is why I like Superman.
Yeah.
They're made to live slow.
Oh, I love that. He just slows the body process so everybody's just whizzing by, and you only have to do it for a year, but you go down to this, they make you go through the slowdown.
Yeah.
So that would be really just
you
awful.
couldn't really, yeah, well, you'd be robbed all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and...
It would take you half a day just to go to the store.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be awful. So this future Superman, he's invulnerable to kryptonite.
But not invulnerable to seawater.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it just... It's seawater specifically,
there
right?
There is a nuclear war.
Oh,
and there's
right.
something in the seawater that affects him.
Interesting. So yeah, and we get to see some Atlantean mer people.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's 2 cities of Atlantis. The one with the fish-legged people that are Lori Lamaris' folk, kind, and then Aquaman's people who have legs.
Do they ever interact?
I think.
Okay. So Superman goes into his
job, his place of work.
Identity. He wears his super glass. Google Glass already.
Oh.
So his the
is that he reads the news on the screen on his glasses?
I think
like Google Glass.
It's telescopic spectacles.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. In this, his girlfriend doesn't like Superman and really likes
That's a kind of
this
refreshing.
guy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And there's a Jimmy Olsen type person.
Mm-hmm.
He still calls the boss chief, but
Even
it's
though
really a robot.
Yeah,
He's PW5598.
PW for Perry White. But the machine is based on the personality traits of Perry White. And now Perry White is a UNIVAC, basically.
Yeah, and he's got a little plaque. So.
Yeah, which is cool. And we learn this story kind of basically ends on Superman being sent on a mission to fight his arch nemesis, Muto,
Yeah.
who we'll see again soon.
Yeah, Lois. No,
Not Lois, but
it's
yeah.
Lyra.
Yeah.
And she says, Superman, that piffle diffle. Man, they're rough in the future.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So we have another backup story. It's more Silver Age goodness. It's a Captain Comet story. Remember in when we were reading the Secret Society of Supervillains? Captain Comet was the hero that was battling them most of the time. That was a fun series.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this story is called The Lady or the Tiger Man. It's reprinted from Strange Adventures number 34. And it was written by John Broome and the penciled and inked by Murphy Anderson.
Okay. The famous Lady and the Tiger choice.
Right. Who wrote that original story?
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Is it the guy?
Was it Aesop?
Is it that old? I was thinking it might have been the guy who wrote Dr. Fu Manchu. I thought it might be.
It could be an O. Henry. I don't know.
Could be. I think that might be it. But I was somewhere thinking that the Lady of the Tiger was a trap by Dr. Fu Manchu.
Well, he probably did something like that. So, Captain Comet, exploring the galaxy, lands on this planet, and he's warned to go home with telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes down, and everybody's in a trance, except for one person who, let's see, wait a minute. There's a mind dictator. This is
Right.
cool. I want to be a mind dictator.
Do you?
Yeah, that'd be great. Give me a beer, or whatever.
So I'm on the internet and looking up Lady of the Tiger.
Yeah.
It's a short story written by Frank R. Stockton, and it was published in 1882. So, anyway, go ahead.
In that story, we never know. We
never
don't know what the choice was.
Oh, you've read it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
It sure is a trope that has definitely lived on, but yeah.
Indeed. So he meets this bald-headed guy. Yeah, he looks like a James Bond villain, with the suit.
Yeah.
And it's in white, and he's bald-headed. So he points to
There's two glass cases.
One
One of them has a girl in it, and one has this Tiger Man in it.
Yeah. One leads to life, one leads to death.
And Captain Comet has to make a choice. Spoilers, he does not choose the false grail.
Yeah, he chooses the Tiger Man. And the Tiger Man fights. Yeah.
It's a cool fight with him and Captain
I
Comet.
just don't understand what the devil was up with that.
Oh, because that guy was really the villain, and the guy who we thought was the mind dictator was his puppet the whole time.
That doesn't make it so... Alright.
Why doesn't that make sense? Because he thought Captain Comet would take the easy way out and pick the girl. Choose life.
Yeah.
You think he thought he was going to overpower him with his physical body or something? Because Captain Comet must be immune to the mind control.
Yeah, I just think it's a stupid plan on the bad guy's part.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't... Jeff, no understand.
That's okay.
Okay, so he gets this pretty girl, and he brings her back home, and
to
she's
Earth.
going to be,
So she's going to be Captain Comet's squeeze.
in a library assistant. Wow.
Hey, excellent. So right on.
That's
So
kinda cool.
the next comic we've got to talk about, I think you and I might be divided about this story, but we'll talk about it. It's Superman number 247, and the lead story is called "Must There Be a Superman?" It's written by Elliot S. Magan, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Murphy Anderson.
This is an important story. It's in a lot of greatest hits.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's in that best of Superman best of the 70s or something, that trade. But
The first half, anyway.
yeah,
This issue.
right. But yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy, excuse me, oh God, of the universe. I can't believe I did it. I was all poised to correct you if you said it. This is my comeuppance, and it didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
But the Guardians of the Universe, you know, the ones that gave the lanterns
Actually,
the rings.
Isn't this the Council of the Big Head Blue people?
It's like I said, the Guardians of the Universe.
Okay.
But anyway, they're calling Superman into question because they think he's hindering impeding the progress of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts out Superman saves the world from a thing,
big yellow thing.
which a Green Lantern couldn't because of the impurity in their rings.
Right, and Sinestro was bad. So, all right. Well, they say, and he gets his butt kicked.
Man, I wish Sinestro was in this story.
That'd be cool.
Man, I love Sinestro. But his successor, because you know he's from the planet Korugar,
Mm-hmm.
Katma Tui, that's her name.
Okay.
Anyway, she is the Green Lantern of Korugar. She has a brief cameo in this. So, but anyway, the Guardians, they talk to Superman. They're like, you know, you're keeping humanity from advancing on its own.
Okay, that's the question. Would he?
I disagree. I think that Superman would be the savior of the Earth and guide us to a new golden era if Superman was real.
I mean, is Albert Einstein, because he's super smart, is he impeding our progress?
No.
You know.
It's someone comes along and makes the world better.
Yeah.
That's not impeding progress. Now,
if he does everything, I mean, if we, and, you know,
but even Superman can't be everywhere and can't do everything. Those are his limits, even as powerful as he is. I think this takes away from the whole concept of Superman. Is wouldn't it be great if there was a Superman?
Mhm.
You know, he is Superman. I have said before, and I'll say again, he is the embodiment of the Christ that the Jews are still waiting for.
Mhm.
He is the embodiment of that Messiah, and I mean he's the Redeemer and the pinnacle of what humanity can be. That's Superman is so great because of all the layered symbolism, and this is saying like, nah, you know,
Okay.
so it's making Superman think twice about saving people. And I don't like that.
Bad move on their part.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's an interesting idea to bring up in a conversation. But when you put this in a Superman story, you are watering down what makes Superman great.
Right.
And I've got all kinds of reservations about that. So, but do you want to talk more about this? There's a story with some migrant workers here.
Yeah. So Superman, he gives the blue big head guys give Superman some food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes and he sees these migrant workers fighting against the boss.
Who's exploiting them?
Yeah. But
Instead of just taking the guy to jail, Superman is encouraging them to handle the problem
I
themselves.
don't think he's doing anything illegal. He's being a bad guy.
Right. And then
So-
again, if Superman took the guy to jail or whatever, I think their conditions that they're living in are not great. And he's responsible for that. But if he took them to jail, they would be out of work.
Right.
So,
Right, that's true too. So he said, Superman says, "I'm not going to do anything at all to help you. You have to do it yourself." And then here comes a earthquake. So Superman's got to do something because he's the only guy who can do anything about an earthquake.
right.
And he fixes the earthquake, and he fixes up the houses because they're busted. So they're not going to be able to fix that up. So he fixes it up. Because it was something you couldn't handle, something you can safeguard yourselves against.
Yeah.
But don't count on Superman to patch up your lives every time you have a crisis or disaster.
So, I mean, we can read a lot of things into this. Could we say, like, it's like they say it's kind of a popular thing. I can't remember if it's Jesus said it or one of the popes that says, God helps those who helps themselves, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
yes, you can rely on God, but you should, do what you can or whatever. It's so wishy-washy and muddy
Hmm.
that for something that's supposed to be such an icon or an archetype, uh, again with all the layered symbolism and stuff, it dilutes Superman in a way that I don't like. I like Superman
Interesting.
stopping to think about
Hmm.
his actions, but because everything you do has consequences,
Right.
you know.
You're really upset about this. I was just mildly annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, if Superman has doubt, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
Did I make the right decision? Okay, I'll buy that
Hmm.
because that implies that he has to think about his morality, and
Right.
it's something he's still a person and still has to work on or work at.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. Well, it gave us food for thought.
indeed.
Hmm.
So the backup story is, and I think this is the first time they did one of these. It's the private life of Clark Kent, and its story is When on Earth, and written by Denny O'Neil, penciled by Kurt Swan, inked by Murphy Anderson. And I don't like these stories because it's just always Clark Kent sneakily using superpowers to solve problems instead of going out and being Superman.
I don't know. I like Superman no matter how bad. But
Okay.
I love this awful 70s clothes.
Yeah, Jimmy looks worse than ever.
Yeah, I wish Jimmy just looked like Jimmy Olsen in the 50s.
You know, in the '80s, they planned they canceled them. But there were plans to have Jimmy die of AIDS.
Oh, man.
Yeah, post-crisis, obviously.
Uh,
Yeah,
That would be a crisis of
Yeah.
stupidity. So,
yeah.
all right, there's a Jimmy is watching Clark get into his newscaster. It's a bad idea for Superman to be a newscaster, but for me, it would be great to have Superman as a newscaster. I would love that.
Like if Superman was just as Superman delivering the news.
Yeah, or
Or-
if I knew a Clark Kent was actually Superman,
And
that'd
you'd be like,
fun.
Superman's on the news again.
Yay!
I
But,
think it'd be hilarious if Superman did the weather.
oh man. Man, it's going to be super cold. It's going
Wink.
to have a super weekend of high temperatures and sunny skies.
Yeah. Oh man,
The second, so Jimmy's talking to the secretary.
Jimmy has a secretary.
To the secretary.
Oh, a secretary, okay.
A secretary, and secretary says, they're talking about Clark and says, "Oh, sure, he's great. Be careful, a mouth and nothing behind it." Man,
Wow.
boy, is she wrong? So.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And this is all about her. She's all down on Clark because why?
Oh, because
She thinks he's just a talking head,
and
and
he doesn't really care, and he just mouthing platitudes. But there's something bothering her, so and Clark finds out what's going on.
her younger brother, who she supports because their parents are dead or something. And it's sad because she doesn't get to go on dates. She has to work all these long hours and stuff, support the two of them. But anyway, her brother is getting in trouble with, falling with the wrong crowd. And so Clark's going to go sniff it out and try and go give him a pep
But
talk.
before that, he tries tobacco.
Yeah.
A pipe.
Pause. There's a cool house ad for something Kirby related.
Oh, Kirby fans. Spirit World.
Yeah, so anyway, Jack Kirby had these two one-shot magazines that DC put out, In the Days of the Mob and The Spirit World. And this advertisement announcing, hey, we can sell you copies of this, whatever, and the people that it sold out on the newsstand and you missed it, they actually undersold, and these are, unsold items that they're trying to get rid of. It was an idea that didn't pan out, unfortunately.
Too bad. I want to see them.
But In the Days of the Mob and the Spirit World have been released as hardcovers, so including unpublished material that was intended for like next issue. Yeah, so yay.
Okay.
So
So he tries tobacco. He doesn't like it. What a wimp.
oh
my
yeah,
God.
that's right. Jimmy went to talk to
Yeah.
the brother and got beat up by gang members.
Oh man, the tobacco uses crud pipe tobacco. That's the name on it on
That's
the
funny.
bag. So yeah, Jimmy comes and he got his butt kicked. Well, dressed like that.
It's the 70s, but yeah.
Yeah, man, what a lousy decade.
So Clark is gonna, so Clark's gonna go and talk to these guys, and
Yeah.
they rough him up, and he pretends to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid brother is they're trying to talk him into bumping off a police officer, a beat cop.
Yeah. And he decides not to, and he helps out, Clark. And I don't know. So Clark, he uses superpowers here, just invulnerability. That's
Right.
all. So which is not too bad, I guess.
Yeah. And so the brother decides to turn himself around and stuff. But I'm like, these are just stories about Clark being a good guy,
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but we have another good story, and I think it is the last for this episode and this issue. It's another story about the future Superman. I think Superman number 7, and the story is Muto, Monarch of Menace. This is I didn't write down where this is reprinted from. It's from Action Comics number 238.
338.
338. Thank you.
1966.
Yeah. Written by Edmund Hamilton and penciled by Kurt Swan, inked by George Klein.
Yeah. Oh man, this is the good stuff.
Oh man, and I love Muto as a villain. I mean, granted he's an amalgam of Luthor and Brainiac,
Yeah.
but he's cool.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll take a second-rate Luthor and Brainiac. I'll take that.
Yeah.
A lot of other stuff we've been seeing. Here's a picture of the mailbag.
The letter-
Metropolis mailbag.
the letter page, yeah.
I wonder if that's how many letters they got.
I don't know.
It'd be interesting.
In the 60s and 70s, that was like the prime writing into comics time, and it still continued on somewhat. Well, definitely in the 80s, but a lot of comics don't have letter pages anymore because they've been replaced by the internet.
Mhm.
And again, that was part of you qualify for that second rate or whatever, that postal rate, by having a couple pages of text, and the letter page was one of those things.
Oh, clever.
But instead, when comics switched to having letter pages rather than the text stories, the filler stories, this is one of the things that really facilitated and helped comic fandom grow into a thing.
Yeah.
And the communication between comic readers and comic creators. And a lot of the people that you see writing letters in to comics, say, in the 60s, are people who are creating comics in the 70s.
And other people.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin. wrote
Yes.
To the comic book.
To the Fantastic Four. I've seen Mark Evanier, who was Jack Kirby's biographer, and he was a comics writer also. He wrote Gru the Wanderer and different.
Oh, yeah.
And he created the DN agents, and he worked in animation and things too. But I've seen his fan letters. Kurt Busiek, who is a professional comics writer, he created Astro City, and he lives here in Portland, Oregon. I've read his fan letters in the 70s written to Howard the Duck and the Spectacular Spider-Man. There's a connection there, and having that ability to communicate with to communicate your opinions about what's going on in comics is valid. And let me turn back to that letter page again. Because see, we got James T. McCoy Jr. Well, there's a guy who I've seen write a lot of letters to comics. Richard H. Morrissey is a guy who wrote to the Superman books for years, and who has passed away. But he was a huge voice in comics fandom. A lot of these guys.
Yeah.
So it's important, and it's something that's lost
Actually,
in our digital age.
I think the episode before last was what they're talking about today, because Sandy from Superman's gone.
Oh, yeah, that story arc is finished, but it was interesting that double of Superman that stole about half of his power and stuff. The only problem is, if you have essentially infinite power, if you cut it in half, it's still infinite.
Yeah.
Because Superman is always...
He doesn't have infinite power.
Well, here's the thing, though. But he's a living solar battery, and so his power is constantly growing exponentially.
Hmm.
and it only decreases when he's exposed to kryptonite or magic or something, or leaves the Earth, or leaves a solar system with a red sun. Other than that, it's constant buildup.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he exerts his power and uses up energy, but then it's replenished immediately.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
it would be interesting if Superman, his powers didn't work at night or something.
Oh, that's a good question.
You know,
Oh, that'd be great for. There's one of the guys writing in is Charles Myerson, known as Chasm!
okay,
Exclamation! And there's a girl, Julia Van Kim. That's
Yeah.
cool.
yeah,
Louisiana gal.
Yeah.
Cool. But
I wonder if we should incorporate talking about the letters columns, like the fan letters, in the show more.
you could do a decent book on fan letters and just look and see if there's any threads going on and interesting people who wrote in.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah,
Okay, back to the story.
Yeah.
Muto gets,
yeah, Muto,
Okay.
Monarch of Menace. I love it. So he's putting together. Muto is the future Superman's arch enemy, and he's putting together basically a league of villains to fight Superman. So he's got these three other villains to help him, and they're also very cool.
They found out Clark, that's his name here, Clark's name, is the new Superman.
Yeah.
All right, you got to go ahead he finds out about Muto, so he changes, and Jimmy, or JL3388, sees him from the back, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, and we see like how some of the previous Supermans have accidentally had their identities exposed.
Which is kind of, oh man, Superman's wearing shorts. It looks like knee socks.
Weird, but remember, it's a different time. So
Yeah. And he's not in costume, and he sees a subway.
and just leaps into action to save somebody. Whoops! I forgot to take off
Yeah,
my thing.
that happened all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, here comes Muto with his henchmen.
Yeah.
Let's see, who are they?
I mean, we'll never see them again, but yeah.
Yan are the underground people. The underground people of planet Waru. Thargo, whose race has its own living radar sense, and Fondon from Blacks, the world without color.
Yeah,
man,
well, it makes it easy to figure out who these are. Yeah. But anyway, it's pretty cool, and you see Superman do some feats in space while these guys are getting together plotting against Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And all these villains look really cool.
Yeah, they do. I love DC villains. They look cool. So there's this planet. Muto is in this planet where they put all the war weapons, because war is illegal now.
Yeah.
I mean, we have air.
I love how they just put it somewhere rather than destroying it.
Well, we have Air Force graveyards.
Yeah.
But they take out the engines and the guns and stuff, so they can't use them. Yeah, and they're stupid in the future.
So anyway, he lures Superman to this planet and sets up a series of traps and things that he fights his way out of easily.
Mm-hmm.
And then they try using kryptonite against him, but of course...
But he knows that it wouldn't work. He's trying to get Superman stupid.
Right, to make Superman make sloppy mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, duh, that doesn't affect me. But then he gets him with some seawater.
Yeah, well, he lays a trap for these kids, and they're going to get drowned. So Superman goes to save them, but they're robots or androids.
That's right, because they're not. They can't be drowned.
Yeah, and we
then
end on a cliffhanger. Man,
yeah.
What's going to happen next?
Well, I'm pretty sure Superman gets out of it somehow.
It'd be kind of cool if he died.
He is a future Superman. They could do it, and since it's, I'm not sure if it's technically an imaginary story, but I don't know.
That was good. Good stories. Let's see. We have a Lois Lane ad. Superman, look, the whole world's turned upside down. Oh, suspense with Lady Danger and Rose and Thorn.
Oh yeah, that's another backup feature that was introduced in Lois Lane.
Yeah, we should do some Lois Lanes.
We will.
I've only read a few. I am Curious Black. I have that somewhere.
Do you? That's one I really want to read. You still have that?
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, do you want to take a look at our books for next week? Unless you had anything.
Yeah. Are we going to do comic books again? Jeez.
All right.
We're kind of stuck in a rut. All right. The Frightened Gun.
Hang on. We've got
Rawhide Kid.
Yeah, the Rawhide Kid number 92.
Oh, Rawhide Kid, Mountain Pursuit.
That's right. We've got the Rawhide Kid number 93.
Flash Gordon, The Eyes of Octo.
Yeah, this is one of a number of one-shots that Dell put out Gold Key put out of Flash Gordon. So we'll look at that.
Ooh. Fighting Marines, The Hero.
Yeah, so a little.
1972.
Yeah, well, it's a Charlton book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, yay! Oh.
Yeah, we've got.
I have read this one before.
Yes,
and I also had read before. I have read the one about the
Guardians and It Must There Be a Superman.
And this is okay. I think this is one of the greatest hits things. I'm not sure why. I don't know. We'll have to discuss that next week.
Yes, we will. But what I was going to say is that Superman number 249, The Challenge of Terra Man, and it's the introduction of that villain.
The son of Superman.
Yes, that's S-U-N.
Which makes no sense. It's our son too, so you know.
Right, but Superman number 255.
Man, they got a crazy airplane for WGBS.
Yeah.
What does GBS stand for?
Galaxy Broadcasting System?
Yeah, couldn't they have done something a little bit better than that?
It's both. I don't know. But anyway, so those are our books we're going to talk about on next week episodes.
Yeah.
Did we have any other business? Any other?
Let's see. I had something clever to say. Oh, yeah, of course. Bangity bang time is over.
What was that from?
Superman.
I must have missed that. Okay.
How can you miss Bangity?
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, I missed that. But again, remember, it's been 2 weeks since I read those books.
No. Who cares? We're bantering. You know, it doesn't matter. Oh.
Yeah.
You know, so because I forget stuff in there too. They're long books. We read a lot of them, so
it's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to remind you, gang, you can join the Comic Reflections podcast discussion group on Facebook. I encourage you to do so. And you can find us on rhymeswithgeek.com and also iTunes and Stitcher.